It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. So welcome to Mind Your Business.
Thank you. I love the name.
Thank you, right? People are like, mind your business. I'm like, that's right. We are minding our business today. So, of course, I'm Jamillah Lodge, your host today, and I'm so pleased to have you here. You are Pamela Alexander, Managing Director and Head of Corporate Citizenship at KKR and Company.
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we get started, we're going to talk about your involvement with BEDC and our Wave of Opportunity competition. Yeah. But before we get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course, I'd be happy to. First of all, thank you for having me here today.
Of course.
And thank you for being so welcoming. This is my first time to Bermuda, so thank you for everything that BEDC has done while we're here. I'm Pamela Alexander. I am Head of Corporate Citizenship at KKR. Global Atlantic is a wholly owned subsidiary of KKR, so we're a family.
Okay.
Right? We are one company, and we work together and as one entity to support communities where we operate. And my role really is to identify nonprofit partners around the world. Mm-hmm. We're in many, many countries around the world, and figure out the needs in each community, hear from people who are in the community, how can we be supportive of communities? Because that's really important to us at KKR and Global Atlantic, is to support the communities in which we operate.
Well, we love to hear it because we definitely do need the support. And that brings us back to the actual competition.
Yes.
And so we've been working, this will be the third year. We're going into
three.
The third year.
Year three.
And we're very thrilled to have been selected as one of the entities that you're partnering with. So as you know, you support us through our Wave of Opportunity pitch competition.
Another great name, by the way.
You like that, right?
I love that name.
Because you're creating opportunities with the grant funds that you provide to our entrepreneurs. And so, as you mentioned, this is your first time to Bermuda.
Yes, it is.
And so you've had an opportunity to see a little bit of the island. So I'd love to hear, what are your initial thoughts?
You know, it is such a beautiful island, first of all, and the community and the people here have been so welcoming and so friendly. And again, thank you to BEDC because you were very kind and took myself and my colleague Erin Fast around the island. And what really stuck out to me, which is why I think it's interesting, it's called Waves of Opportunity. Mm-hmm. There is so much opportunity on this island. It's a very well-established, beautiful island, and there are still many, many pockets of opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so BEDC's efforts to amplify, leverage those opportunities for development, for economic growth, for small businesses. Everywhere I looked, I just thought, oh, wow, this is great. And the other thing I have to say I'm in America. I work in New York City. We have a lot of big boxes, and there's nothing wrong with those. Mm-hmm. But what I love is seeing all of the individual stores and restaurants as we've been kind of driving around and I'm looking out the window. They all reflect not only the island, but the individuality of the owners.
Yep.
So that has been really exciting for me as well.
And I'm glad you noticed that because those are literally our stakeholders. Right, and as we were going around the island, I was like, that's our client. That's our client. That's
I know.
Our client.
I can hear you going, we work with them. And there were so many stores I said, I know we're doing, can I get out and look at, I wanted to get out and look at each one. Yeah. Because there's so much diversity of just products and ideas. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And I'm so happy that you noticed that.
I did.
And that you're enjoying seeing how we engage with the community. Mm-hmm. Because it's our opinion at BEDC that, small business is kind of the lifeblood of the economy, right? Mm-hmm. When you come, you want to be able to go somewhere and have a fish sandwich.
Fish sandwich is really good.
Shout out to Mama Mia. But I really do appreciate you saying that, and I think the entrepreneurs that we serve will appreciate hearing it as well, because you do represent a huge corporation and company, and that you are so purposeful about how you go around the world and give back and ensure that, you are leaving a mark, not just in your industry, but for those other industries like the ones that we support. I really do appreciate that.
It's important to us. I joined KKR post-COVID. I was previously doing corporate community engagement at another company, and we really stood up the corporate citizenship and corporate philanthropy platform post-COVID. What does that look like in the world? And a lot of that was built upon what did we see from small businesses. When you look at what we do as a company, we scale and grow and provide economic opportunity and build economic success, right? So as part of our corporate citizenship platform, we want to lean into what we do well, and that's helping to grow and to scale. And that's very important to us, which is why that's what we're focused on here and in many other areas around the world. We focus on economic mobility because that's the game changer.
Yeah,
right? That's the game changer.
100%. You are preaching to the choir because
I know. That's why we work so well together.
I'm already converted. But no, you know what I think is that not every company has that type of approach. You know what I mean? And so I think it's refreshing to have these conversations and to be able to enter into partnerships like this, because you're not just saying it, you are doing it. You know what I mean? You're putting your money where your mouth is, if I could say that.
And part of that is partnerships, like what we have with BEDC. We like to say that our global platform and our global strategy is globally innovative but locally impactful. I've spent 3 wonderful days here in Bermuda. I by no means would pretend to know what exactly can be done to help the community the most.
Right.
That's why we rely on local partners, because you provide that expertise, that connectivity to the local economy that helps us be really successful.
Well, you are doing the work, I think. And so as we talk about like the upcoming competition,
let's get back to the competition.
Which is happening in November,
Right.
I'm hopeful that, hearing your thoughts and the company's overall ideas about giving back and entrepreneurship and how what you do can feed back into the community encourages people to apply. When we were talking yesterday, we talked a little bit about, I think 65 people applied last year.
Which is twice as many as the year before. It
is.
Grown 100% from year 1 to year 2.
That's right. And so the expectation is we have 3 times as many as year 1, right? That is
It'd be nice if we get to 100. That'd be great.
See, challenge accepted. So look, if you guys are listening and you hear applications will be opening soon, and so we are looking forward to getting over 100 applications this time around. Now, granted, we only have 5 awards to give out, but we want to make sure that those awards are going to the people who need it most, can benefit from it the most. And talking about the awards, you had an opportunity on our tour to meet one of the
Ashley. With that wonderful smelling lotion.
Okay. I have some on today.
Yeah, I don't think I can smell your arm on the podcast. I don't think I'm going to do that.
You don't want to.
But I smelled it live yesterday, and it was amazing.
Yes.
It was amazing. And what was even more wonderful to see was she could point to things in her space, in her warehouse, where she's operating out of. This made a difference. This is how the grant made a difference. I was able to buy these shelves. I was able to buy this machine so that, it fills the jars automatically. I was able to buy this label machine, so I'm not, putting on the labels manually. And that's really important because it helps her produce more product. It helps her sell more product. It helps her scale, right? And that's what this is all about, is how do we assist these businesses in scaling? And it was so wonderful to see that. And she's such a wonderful person.
She is. She's
and
so
I know
sweet.
many more of some of the other winners are coming to our offices here.
Yes.
Global Atlantic offices here. This evening. So our team members are really looking forward to seeing them. They're very engaged. And you mentioned there's only a few winners, but the semifinalists, they receive mentoring and coaching from Global Atlantic team members. So everyone comes away with something.
Yes.
And even if it's just your first time, I've judged pitch competitions previously, several, and you run into people who say, I wasn't sure if I should try.
Yeah.
The only way you can be sure you won't win is if you don't enter.
Exactly.
Right?
If you're not in it, there's no way you can win it, right?
And people have this image of, the people that win those are in this space and are doing this or have accomplished that. And what I think entrepreneurs and hopefully the ones that are listening need to realize is that part of the program and part of what we're doing here is helping you to scale.
Right.
You don't have to come in perfect.
Right.
You don't have to come in perfect.
Absolutely.
It's our job and what you're doing to help them get to that space.
You're
so
absolutely
I would
right.
really encourage people to, as we say, I can say this, I'm in Bermuda.
Yeah.
Put your toe in the water, dip your toe in the ocean, and give yourself a chance.
Yes.
Right? Because that's so important.
It's extremely important. And hearing you say that, it's like you saw what we were having to deal with, because people, the first thing I think they need to conquer is the fear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you have these ideas, you're passionate about it, you want to see your business come to fruition, but telling the public and the broader audience about it can be almost stifling.
And these are very personal, right? When you speak to a lot of the small businesses, this is their personal baby, right? This is their passion and something they came up with. And it can be hard to kind of put your baby out there and say, okay, evaluate it, pitch it, judge it, right?
Judge my baby.
So the other thing I want to say is I wasn't able to make the pitch competition this year, but I'm sure having met with you and knowing our team members, this is a warm environment. You are not going in front of a bunch of sharks.
No.
This is not Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is an environment where we are there to help you grow and to embrace you as an entrepreneur and to help you move further along in your dream. And if you have a fear of public speaking, again, it's a warm, welcoming environment. Because I know people who will turn down this opportunity simply because they don't want to do the pitch.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
This is not a cold, uncomfortable environment. We're here to help you.
And on that note, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, about the fact that we want to see you succeed. So yes, you have to apply. We will go through preliminary rounds, but once you're selected, you are involved in the additional support that's provided. So we have like a pitch boot camp. Your team is available to assist with mentoring, like you mentioned earlier, so that people can build up that confidence. And there's going to be a lot of time between now and November when the actual pitch competition takes place. So like you said, we're here to assist and ensure that when you show up, you're putting your best foot forward.
Right.
You know, and so that is extremely important to us. And the other thing is, I think even if you are not successful on the evening, it's still an accomplishment, right?
Oh, you will come away with having learned something.
Exactly.
You will come away, even if it's your first time you've pitched. That's an important skill to help learn. And if you've pitched and done that and kind of gotten that out of your system, even if you don't win, the next time you pitch, I guarantee you will be much more comfortable.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. You know, we've seen it. People who are very reserved and they come away and now they're telling people about their business. But the other opportunity I'd like to say is you never know who's in the room. So even though you may not win the grant award, there may be an opportunity for you to build another partnership or another investment with someone else who's in the room. And we have seen that happen. And so I would say to the entrepreneurs who are listening and are thinking about whether they should do it, but not just do it, but understand that the opportunity for support goes beyond just the financial, right? There's opportunities to get potential investment, partnership, mentorship from others who are in the room to like kind of support you through that whole process. So,
and it is a global economy. You know, as I mentioned, we have supporting nonprofit. We have nonprofits we support around the world. And in January, I was in India. Working and meeting with one of our partners who supports women, female entrepreneurs in small villages in India. And the challenges are the same. And, you know, obviously there are different cultures and things like that. Meeting a lot of these, one woman had this machine. She went from making nothing to roughly 6,000 rupees a month, which is a lot for her family, making plates and bowls for weddings. That she was selling, and they were beautiful. And we bought all her plates and bowls while we went there. It's like, can I buy those? Those are pretty. I have those in the office. I put my snacks in them. But, you know, this is a global economy of small businesses and small entrepreneurs that they are part of, and it's something they should be so proud of. They think it's just a small little thing. It's not.
It's not.
It powers the economy. Small businesses power the economy, which is why we want to help them grow and scale.
Yes. So if you can say, just snap your fingers and make something happen, what are you hoping that the entrepreneurs who participate in the competition achieve? Like, what do you think, how do you see the grant funds assisting them? You use that example of Ashley, but what other things are you hoping that they walk away with?
So even beyond the grant funds, I know that everyone who engages in this process will learn something about their business, about themselves as a business owner. So that's my goal for everyone, that some light will go off that says, hey, I didn't think about this. Because sometimes just filling out an application, when you have to fill out an application to submit, it will make you think about things that maybe had not occurred to you. So at a very basic level, my hope is that, and I know this will happen, everyone who even applies will be thinking about something that they weren't thinking about before. Obviously, for the 5 winners who went up to $25,000, the goal is that they can scale.
Yes.
They can scale. One of the ways we look at our impact in communities is, what are we doing to create the opportunity for generational wealth, right? Because if people are just surviving and not thriving, moving to thriving, we're not making a ton of progress, right? Surviving is important, having the basic needs, but we want to help small businesses move to thriving. And you generate generational wealth, for the opportunity for it, by creating an asset. A lot of people in the U.S. think about it as a home ownership.
Yeah.
But it's also a business that's worth more, that can be passed down through families. You create generational wealth. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these grants that the winners will win will help them scale and grow as a business. I think that's unique about this competition. Others I've judged, it's been, okay, well, you can pitch and you can win up to fill in the blank amount of money. But the fact that this one is really focused on scaling, how are you going to grow and scale your business, I think is so much more impactful because the entrepreneurs really have to focus on that as a business. And again, that makes them think, okay, what do I need to scale? What do I need to scale? Going back to my India example, the woman who was making the plates and the bowls for weddings, because weddings are very big in India.
Yes.
She didn't have a cup machine, right? And she said, I could make more money, because she hadn't thought about this before when she was buying everything, if I had a cup machine, because people want cups that match the plates and bowls.
Right.
And so I'm losing some business because I don't have the cups. And the cup machine didn't cost very much. So now we're working with that nonprofit to say, can we give small grants to these entrepreneurs so she can get her cup machine? Right. So when you fill out that form and when you go through this process, you will think about what do I need? What do I really need to make this business grow and scale?
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
Because these are opportunities for you to identify things that you hadn't thought about before that people obviously want. And then Global Atlantic, through the support and the funding, can actually make that happen.
Yes.
Through the grant fund, right? So using Ashley as an example, she was doing everything herself. By hand.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the time it took to do that, which means that she can't produce as much. Right. Now that she has these machines, the time gets shorter. She can produce more, make more money. And scale.
Get employees and scale. She got a machine that helped her mix the lotions, and I thought, oh my goodness, I just had this visual. How are you mixing this before, right? That's back in grandma's house, right? Eat those eggs to make the, So I think that's absolutely wonderful, and it is really important from Global Atlantic and KKR's perspective, because Bermuda is very important to us. The community in Bermuda is very important to us.
We feel the love.
We're working with you with Entrepreneurship. We were with another group, Planet Math, that we fund, and I was helping with a math camp yesterday, which reminded me I cannot be a teacher, bless you, to any teachers who are out there who are listening, because the kids were absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But 6-year-olds have way too much energy for me to be in a room with a bunch of them. They were so sweet, though. So thank you to any teachers that are listening. But this community is so very important to Global Atlantic that we want to make sure that we're supporting the community in the most impactful ways possible.
And just as a sidebar, since you mentioned it, my daughter will be going to that camp.
Oh, is she?
Yes, they get great reviews.
Yeah,
so I'm
excited
things about that. But we appreciate that too. And so from my perspective, you have a very wraparound approach, which I think is necessary to make the biggest and most impactful change in any community. So I appreciate that. So speaking about young people, we actually do have like a youth entrepreneur category.
Great.
Yes.
That's great.
And that's my question. Like, why do you think that that's important to identify a specific category for young people in an entrepreneurship pitch competition?
I think that's so important because I'll give you a story. In a previous position I had in my previous company, we were out of the box and we opened a community center. Most major corporations don't run community centers. They sponsor them and listened to the community and said, what do you need? And we put it in a school so that the kids and the parents would be right there. And we had a food distribution, which we did very much with dignity, and we wanted to make sure the kids had food at home. And we had a youth advisory council. So we're sitting there going, how can we we need to get this food home to the families, but not all families can be home during the day. We have this delivery service. And this 10-year-old looked at us and said, just put it on the bus so we can take it off when we leave. And every adult in there, well, first of all, felt like a complete idiot.
Right.
Because that hadn't occurred to us. Right? But this 10-year-old fixed the problem because he thought about it in a way that was doable. So I think youth have so many amazing ideas and so much to offer. And there are different paths for different people. And the last thing we want is for someone who's young to have a dream and an idea and to say, oh, no, you have to go through these other paths first because you aren't able to do this. You're too young. That's not the case. I know of a young girl in the States who started building candles when she was like 10. And by the time she was 13, that was a big
full-on business.
Right? So imagine, or it's Nico, right?
Yes.
Who has this amazing, one of our winners. Imagine what would happen if someone had said, "Oh no, you're too young for us to believe in you."
Right.
Right. I just think that's the wrong approach, and I think honoring that, celebrating that, supporting that with money is so important, because I don't think we disqualify an idea that's a wonderful one simply because the person might not be a certain age yet.
Yep,
right?
I would agree 100%. And Nico has showed up and showed out. Okay?
Yeah, I keep hearing about Nico. Yeah,
he is really switched on, and so sometimes our categories, we have age requirements, right? Because we're thinking, okay, this person has to be ready, mentally ready to do this, and they have to sell their bit. But we make exceptions, and Nico was one of those exceptions because, like you said, the young lady that you mentioned, she was 10. Nico, I want to say, was 11 or 12 when we were first introduced to him. And so to see that, you want to help to brighten that spark. You do not want to turn it out.
You certainly don't want to snuff that light
out. Not at all. So seeing him pitch and do his thing, and now to see where he's gone from that, and I'm hoping that he also comes to the offices so you get a chance to meet him in person.
Maybe he can mentor some other youth. Right?
Yes. And that's how you pay it forward. Yeah. That's how you pay it forward. And that brings me to my next question. So you're doing what you have to do at KKR, at Global Atlantic. We're doing what we have to do at BDC. So what would you encourage those entrepreneurs who have gone through this process to do to pay it forward?
I think mentorship is important. Sharing your knowledge of what you have learned. One thing, we also work a lot with social enterprises in various places, and we had an idea at we have a lot of employees in New York. And we have an annual holiday party, as you can imagine. And it's on site. It's in our offices. And a couple years ago, they said, we'd love to have how can we bring the community in? So now we work with one of our social enterprise partners, and we have social enterprises we bring into the party, and they have like a shopping holiday bazaar. Ooh. And we bring them in from around the country. Right? And for example, the coffee one that came in said she made more money at our holiday party that she made at Coffee Week in Seattle.
Wow.
And Seattle's all about coffee.
Yeah.
So I say that to say that's a wonderful experience for them. But what they've said also is typically the night before the event, we will take them out to dinner. And they said the fellowship of meeting with fellow small businesses, social entrepreneurs who are dealing with the same challenges, who are looking for similar solutions, was one of the other most valuable things they got out of that. So one of the other pieces I would advise is I would hope that people who have won and have been successful in this space are coming together in a community together with each other, because there's still many things to learn, but also bringing along others with them. Yeah. Coming together for fellowship, for community in some way to pass on those bits of knowledge, but also just to support each other. Because a lot of times when you're doing that, I've heard from small businesses, I feel so alone because you're so busy getting the job done that you don't always have time for all this other stuff. You've got all these other obligations and family and everything like that. And so coming together is not necessarily prioritized. So I think reaching out and finding a way to connect with others not only benefits them, but it benefits you. Because it builds that support system and that economy that I think also helps businesses succeed.
One of the things that I want to mention that I think you guys do well is you win the competition, but I feel like we have these accountability meetings. And so typically it's Erin Fast, and myself, and then we meet with the winners and we talk about their goals, whether they've achieved them or not. And I really do think that is important for those entrepreneurs who sometimes, like you said, feel alone. Right? And just to have someone touching base and checking in and saying, okay, have you done this? Why haven't you done this? Could you do X, Y, and Z? I think is extremely important. And it also speaks to your commitment to further support the entrepreneurs, not just with the money, right? Because you can give them the money and be like, okay, good luck with that.
Unfortunately, I think that's how some pitch competitions that I've been to, they come in, they pitch. I know there was a group that spoke to me about supporting a pitch competition, and it was for women, and they said, we'd love for you to support this. And they said, this is a pitch competition. It opens here, you apply, and you do this. And I said, okay, what do you do in between?
Right.
and what do you do afterwards? And they hadn't quite come together with that yet. And I said, perhaps you should think about that, right? Because I think that's the mistake that a lot of pitch competitions make, is that they don't have the follow-up. They don't have the mentoring in advance to help small businesses be successful and to think about things they need to think afterwards. I have one colleague that's very big in this space in the U.S., and her theme is no grants without guidance.
I like that.
She's very big in the small business entrepreneur state. She's an angel investor, and she says no grants without guidance.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you just pop in and throw funds and then leave and say, oh, great, we did a pitch competition, you really need all of the things, all the wraparound things that you're doing at BEDC to make it successful.
I agree with you 100%, because we're assuming that because you are great at making that thing, that you have all the business expertise and acumen that you need to have to ensure that the business is successful. And that's not the case. At least that, in our experience, we know that there is a need for that extra support and guidance. Right. And that you are willing to be part of that.
I love that part. Our team members are very engaged. Global Atlantic team, the team throughout the country and here in Bermuda, very engaged in terms of service to communities. We provide 40 hours of paid volunteer time a year for every employee. So when they do things like that, they can say, hey, this is how I want to use my time. I want to help these small businesses. So that's wonderful as well.
Yeah, I love that you incentivize it. So, not some people need incentive, others don't, but that you actually...
It's also a statement about our values. It's about giving permission. Because I think most people like to help people, right? And like to do what they do. But in order to do that, you have to have permission. You have to feel that your company supports you in doing this type of thing. So when the company says, we support you so much that you can have a week during the year, and you can cut it up in hour shifts or however it works for your schedule to do this, then that's important.
Yeah, that goes back to what I said before. You put your money where your mouth is. You're not just talking about it, you're actually doing it. And I think that's very important. I want to talk a little bit about how the entrepreneur's paying it forward. And I know in one of the conversations that we had with Erin, it was suggested that the entrepreneurs that won last year should be judges for the next year. And I thought that was a great idea. And I think having gone through it, they can understand like the nerves and
judge, or even mentors,
exactly. So some mentor, they've been there, done that. But I think that that's great. And my hope is that as we continue this partnership, that we can kind of build out sort of like alumni or winners association. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Where they could all get together and just talk about it where they are, continue to support each other.
I don't want to add more work, but maybe we should do that in November. Maybe like the night before or something.
Something like that. Like get together.
Like previous winners. Bring them together.
Okay. All right.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. She's like, oh, wait, I didn't offer up to that.
I won't take full credit. I want to say in one of the meetings, I'm sure. Yeah. But I think that just speaks to the opportunity to get the entrepreneurs together so that they don't feel lonely, so that they understand that they are experiencing similar things. Maybe there's a question that you can answer for me, I can answer for, So
one of the things that we found, we had a COVID relief fund, $50 million globally. And one of the biggest grants we gave was to a company to give small grants to small businesses to help them get through the crisis. And something like 70% of the businesses said, this money helped me survive COVID. But then when we followed up with them afterwards, a lot of them, how are you doing? We're doing well. A lot of them had to go from brick and mortar to online. But a lot of them didn't have basic things like business plans.
Yeah.
Can't thrive as a business without a business plan, right? But that can also be something where it can be difficult to admit that you don't have one.
Correct.
And that's why, again, these wraparound support services you're providing, the mentoring that our colleagues at Global Atlantic are providing, they can do that stuff in a second, right? So that's another reason to get engaged because that kind of help is out there.
It is.
Yeah.
And so we're encouraging people, if they haven't gone through like BDC program,
absolutely,
to please take advantage of it. Like the Enterprise Bermuda Incubator is starting up now. I think applications close at the end of this month. But that is an example of how even if you win the competition, you could still participate in that, because that's where you're going to get that kind of business planning support. That's where you get a chance to build the community of other entrepreneurs.
That's incredible that you have that.
So that's what we're encouraging people to do, because what I want to say about the Wave of Opportunity pitch competition is we're not judging whether or not you are good at doing business. That's not what's being judged, right? We're being judged your idea, the viability of it in Bermuda, the other things we can help support with, right? You as the individual, do we think you have what it takes to actually make this thing happen? Those are things that we can't teach, right?
Right.
But the other stuff, the business plan stuff, all of those things, we can teach.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I hope that people hear this and understand that I believe that this pitch competition is an opportunity to help businesses scale the way they need to. Take that idea, if it's a year old or whatever, and to build it up and build it out with support from your entity, from Global Atlantic.
The other thing I will mention is, in the U.S., you talk to some small business owners and you go, oh, that's not a business, that's just my side hustle.
Yeah.
That's a business.
It's a business.
That's an opportunity. So we need to start thinking about it. Small business owners need to think about it that way.
Correct.
This thing that you think is a side hustle that's just bringing this stuff in, think about what it could be, not what it is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what this type of thing is for, and the programs that you have. It's about the possible.
Yes.
Right?
I love that. It's about the possible.
Yeah.
So Wave of Opportunity is coming up in November. Applications are open.
Deadline is?
July 30th.
30th?
Yes,
okay.
to get the applications in.
So make sure you all get those
Got a whole month.
applications in. Don't take yourself out of the equation. Can I tell you one more story?
Sure.
Are we over time?
No.
Okay, so one of my mentors that I was blessed to have was a woman named Dorothy Height. I don't know if people here know her. But Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., had, they call it the Big Six, right? And those were his advisors, Abernathy, all those guys that planned everything. And she was the only woman. She was head of the National Council of Negro Women.
Okay.
And she was the only woman at the table. And she told me, I knew her when she was in her 90s and just sharp as a tack. And she said, Pamela, whenever I took a picture with the Big Six, I found that if I stood on the edge, when the picture went to print, the press would crop me out.
What?
So she said, I learned, Pamela, and this was her life lesson to me, and one of the things that has always resonated in my heart. She said, I learned to wait until the last minute and jump in the middle, and they couldn't crop me out.
Right.
So when you're a small business, she always said, Pamela, don't let anyone put you in a position, or don't put yourself in a position where someone can crop you out of the picture. Put yourself in the middle of the picture so no one can take you out of play. So I say that to say, these applications are due on July 30th. Don't put yourself on the edge of the picture. Put yourself in the middle of the picture so you can't get cropped out, and give yourself the opportunity to be seen. And that's all I have to say.
I love it.
Yeah.
We have minded our business today.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that.
I really, really, honestly and truly appreciate having met you. Having had an opportunity to kind of show you around our island.
That was wonderful.
And I am looking forward to what this partnership can grow into.
Absolutely.
Not just from a BDC perspective personally, but as well as for our entrepreneurs.
Excellent.
I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.